Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. As you can tell by the thumbnail and the title of this video, this is going to be November book releases that I am excited for. So I will just, how this works is these are books in November that are like released in November that I'm excited for. Whether or not I read them in November or at all is another question entirely that we won't talk about. So I have a list here on my phone. Let me just grab it. A list of 13 books that I'm interested in. I can't speak. So I'm just going to go through the list, talk a little about it. I will have up in somewhere around the screen the release date, and then I'll pop up the cover as I talk about it. So the first one is War Crown by Elizabeth Brown, and this comes out on November 1st. This might be one of the first books that I read in November, because I have this book for pre-order. And essentially this is the second book in the, what is this series called? Freedom's Harem, and essentially in the first book, Blood Crown, we have Ashira, who has just recently taken control of this country. She is the first ever queen of any of the countries in the land, and essentially because of this she needs the leaders of the other countries to come meet her, and by doing so it is revealed that they are all her mates. This is a very smutty reverse harem. I'm talking literally every chapter has smut, some have multiple smut. It is just very smutty. It is in book 1 there is 4 love interests, and then in book 2 we've now upped it to 6. Very curious on how that's gonna go. It features, like, all of our characters pretty much are queer. Yeah, all of our characters are queer because our main character of Ashira is, like, canonically bi, as well as all the love interests, because, well, all of the love interests kind of screw each other. This is not the normal type of book that I read. It's just the I read Blood Crown back in June when it came out. I loved it. I love the characters. I love the world. I'm very excited to see where this book goes. This next book is You've Reached Sam by Dustin Thao, and this comes out on November 2nd. I actually have an arc of this through NetGalley. So this definitely will be read in November. But essentially this we have, what, Julie is the name? Yeah, Julie, and essentially Julie ends up traveling to Japan for a summer, and while she's gone her boyfriend Sam dies. And when she calls his phone to presumably, like, hear the voicemail, to hear his voice, like, one last time, he answers. And that's, like, all I know. That's really even all the description goes. Like, yeah, just to listen to, like, just listen to the voicemail. And I've heard good things about this. Or I've heard, I'm trying to remember who, I know that, I think Maddie from Book Browsing Blog has either read it and loved it or is dying to read it. I can't remember, but I know I've heard her talk about it multiple times and put it on her TBR multiple times. This is one that, did I put this on my TBR at one point? I don't remember. So also on November 2nd we have, I'm going to butcher this title and I know it, A Psalm of Storm and Silence by Roseanne A. Brown. This is the second book in the A Songs of Wraiths and Ruin series, and it's the final one because it's only a duology, and I'm going to struggle to describe this, but essentially we have I cannot remember the character's names. Oh my god, I read this in July and I can't remember shit. But essentially we have a princess that ends up needing to be the queen because her mother passed away, and then we have this guy who essentially, to kind of he accidentally put himself in the position that he had to make a deal, which is to kill the queen. Well, kill the princess, doesn't realize it's the queen, and that literally doesn't do fucking justice. It has West African inspired. It is really good. I think I ended up giving the first book 4 stars. This is one that I don't think I'll be picking up in November. maybe December, I don't know, but I did really enjoy A Song of Wraiths and Ruins, and I am kind of curious to see where the series goes, even though I can never describe this book because I cannot do it justice, and I don't remember that much, but I remember enough to continue, if that makes any sense. So on November 9th, we have All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Lynn Herman. This is one that I really want to buy physically, although I'm not sure if I can afford it. And let me just pop up the description here on Goodreads because, well, I can never describe this. The blood moon rises. The blood veil falls. The tournament begins. Every generation, at the coming of the blood moon, 7 families in the remote city of Ilvernath each name a champion to compete in a tournament to the death. The prize, exclusive control over the secret wellspring of high magic. The most powerful resources in the world, one thought long depleted. This year, thanks to the delicious tell-all book, the 7 champions are thrust into the worldwide spotlight, granting each of them a new information, new means to win, and most importantly, a choice. Expect their fate or rewrite their story. Accept their fate or rewrite their story, but this is a story that must be penned in blood. All I've heard is The Hunger Games with magic, like The Hunger Games meets, I can't remember what else it was. I'm very excited for this because I absolutely loved Amanda Foody's the Shadow Game series. I couldn't think of that title for the series title. I love that, and I'm dying to read The Devouring Ray by Lynn Herman. Both of those series are somewhere on the shelf behind me. And this one, it just sounds so good, and like, I've seen some character art, like there was one that just came out today that I was like, oh my gosh, I love it. I have a feeling I'm going to really enjoy this book. Also on November 9th is Aurora's End by Amie Kaufman and Kristoff. This is the 3rd and final book in is it the Aurora cycle? Yes. And essentially the first book being Aurora Rising, we follow Squad 312, and essentially they're a squad of kind of like the ragtags of this academy, the Aurora Academy, and essentially we are in many years from now, I can't remember the exact year, like 2500 something maybe, and essentially we have our lead captain of Tyler Jones, who ends up discovering this girl named Aurora in this spaceship, and it's revealed that she is from like 200 years ago and has no idea how she survived, and that is a very, very crappy description of this, but I read Aurora Rising in April, Aurora Burning in August, and then I will be reading this as soon as I can. I might see if I can get it from my library though, if not buy it myself, but again I need to figure out financially if I can do that, which at this point is I don't know. So the next book is Court of Dragons by Frost K, and this I actually don't know that much about, so I am just going to read the description here. As a daughter of the Dragon Court, Ren knows 3 truths. Never show weakness, pay the tilth, I don't know the word, and never trust the elves. When the enemy strikes on the eve of her wedding, Ren has no choice but to fight. Captured, she's dragged before the elvish king and given 2 choices, death or marriage. She submits, bidding her time as she plots and spies, determined to strike at the heart of the elvish royalty and take back her family's throne once more. But the more time she spends with her dangerous and achingly handsome husband, she finds herself wavering. Only the strong survive the harsh moons of the Dragon Isles, and she can't afford to question her loyalties, leaving her only one choice: strike hard and fast, never waver. It's his heart or hers. I don't need to hear anything else. Again, I have this thing where it's like, if it's fae, elves, or anything like that, which this features elves, I'm down for. Also, you cannot have the word dragon in the title and not expect me to go, okay, I'm gonna read this. Ow, I also just hit my face. So like, I'm definitely gonna be reading this because it's probably gonna be on Kindle Unlimited, because most of Frost K's books are on Kindle Unlimited. So like, I'll probably read it. I'm not entirely sure though. Next we have Our Violent Ends by Gong, and this I actually have an arc of through Neck Alley as well, and essentially this is the sequel to These Violent Delights, which I'm actually reading literally am going to be starting it tonight because I'm doing a reread of it. I'm going to struggle to describe this as well. But essentially we have Juliet, after she's been away from Shanghai for 4 years. She's returned back. We are in 1926, and there are two rivaling gangs. The Scarlet Gang, which Juliet is a part of, and the White Roses, which her enemy slash ex slash whatever the fuck you want to call it, Roma is involved in. And essentially there's this thing going around. I'm trying to figure out what I can say without spoilers, but essentially when people start dying, the two of them kind of have to team up, and that's kind of the rough gist of it. I did give These Violent Delights 3.5 stars, but that's because I rushed reading it because there was a book that I was super excited for to read right after it. So I rushed reading it, and like I regret doing that. So I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna be rereading These Violent Delights so I can read Our Violent End and hopefully enjoy it more than I did the first one. You get what I'm saying? On the 16th, which is the same day that Our Violent End comes out, I forgot to mention that, we have The Nobleman's Guide to Shipwreck. What is it called? The Nobleman's Guide to Scandal and Shipwreck. Oh my god, the way that took me like a minute to try to say. By Mackenzi Lee, and this, I don't even know how the fuck to describe it. It's the third and final book in the Montague siblings series, where essentially in the first two we follow, in the first book we follow Monty Montague. That almost sounds like a fucking tongue twister. And then in the second book we follow Felicity Montague, and now in the third and final book we are following Adrian, and essentially, I don't really know how to describe it. Essentially we are in like the early 1900s, late 1800s, I think, and we're just following these siblings' lives. In the third book, Shipwrecks, in this book I'm talking about, essentially, I think it's revealed that Adrian doesn't know that he has the two older siblings, and so it's him meeting them and then also going on like a trip somewhere. I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm also just exhausted right now, so like anything I say, I know. I'm just excited for this because I read the first two books last year, and this book originally was supposed to come out like August of last year. Then it got pushed to like April of this year. Then it got pushed to August of this year. Then it got pushed to November, and I feel like I'm like sitting here like, okay, if it like I need to read it just like be done with this series, because I feel like I can't not read this book eventually because I've been waiting for it for so long, so I don't know. Next we have Believe Me by Tahereh Mafi, and this is it's a 6.5 novella of the Shatter Me series, which the Shatter Me series, essentially in the first book, Shatter Me, we follow Juliet, who her touch is lethal, and essentially she is kind of recruited by this government organization. She fights against it, she ends up forced into it, and then more things happen, and now this is 6.5. It was it's kind of almost like a novella to wrap up the entire story. It's from the character of Warner's point of view, who's like my favorite character in that series, I think. And I'm excited to read this because I don't want to spoil it, but it's meant to be like I think almost like a wedding special between the main couple, and I love the main couple, and I am dying to own all the books, so I probably will pick this up at some point. I don't know. Next we have Still With Me by Jessica Cunsolo, and this is the third and final book in the, is it the With Me series? Yes. And essentially the first book is She's With Me, the second book is Stay With Me, the third book is Still With Me. We follow Amelia as she moves to this new city, and she has this plan of like no friends, no relationships, keeps her head low, and just make it through her senior year. But when a boy named Aiden, is that his name? Is that his name? That sounds right. Yes, that is. I remembered it. But essentially when this boy named Aiden steps into her life, as well as his friends, she kind of throws that plan out the window, and there's a lot more revealed. And this series, I talk about this every time I talk about this series, I have to go through the thing, is I have a history with this entire series, as the first book, She's With Me, was one of the first Wattpad stories I read, and was one of the books that got me into kind of reading on Wattpad, and then subsequently reading in general. And I actually have an arc of Still With Me through NetGalley. I will be reading this in November, although I want to reread the first 2 books. I own book 1, and then I've been saying with a lot of these, I want to buy them, because I want to buy so many books. I have a problem. But yeah, I really love this series. I'm so excited to see how it ends, because I know that the published version of Still With Me is different than the Wattpad version. It's a lot longer and a few little things are different, and I'm very excited to see what is different in general, because I genuinely do remember loving these characters, and I love it. I've literally read the first book between Wattpad and physically published like 3 or 4 times. Like, it always has a place in my heart, I think. Next we have Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson, and this is the 3rd book in the, what is it called? In the Skyward trilogy, the Skyward series. I don't know how many books there's going to be, but essentially in the first book, Skyward, we follow Spencer, who wants to become a pilot, and essentially where we are on a planet where there are these aliens that kind of attack every so often, and the people become pilots to defend against them. And Spencer originally isn't supposed to be a pilot because her father kind of fled mission and got himself killed, and Spencer's been known as the coward's daughter. And she does manage to get into flight school, as well as she also discovers something in a secret cavern that could change her entire planet's attack strategy. And I read Skyward in September. I literally am going to be reading book 2, Starsight. It's the next book I'm going to be picking up. I'm going to be picking it up sometime later this week. And then eventually I'll read Cytonic. Probably going to wait to see what people say, unless I'm dying to read it. And this one, again, I wanted to maybe try to get a copy of it because I own the first 2 books. So I might wait until I can afford it and then buy it. Maybe wait, buy it as a Christmas present, or see if my parents can buy it for me for Christmas. I'm not entirely sure, really. On November 30th, we have The Aspen Rains by Kayla Maya. Kayla Maya? I don't know. And this is one that I have an arc of, so I need to read it. So, thief, smuggler, assassin. Orphaned at a young age, Piper has lived her entire life as a girl without a purpose. Raised by a group of nuns, she was trained to become a ruthless fighter. From killing those with a high price to smuggling oppressed fae creatures. Piper has become the most notorious mercenary for hire. But the night the Scorian Empire washes ashore, Piper becomes entangled in a job that even she can't refuse. Badly beaten, bloody, and alone, Princess Aspen has asked for Piper's help. Hidden deep in the forest of gold and the sea of lost voices lies a magical artifact that can prevent the Empire's siege and gain. Aspen back on her throne. Empire siege and gain Aspen back on her throne before it's too late. Within the folds of Aspen's memory is a map that leads to the Forgotten Empire, a place that has once thrived with life, a place that has once said to hold untapped magic. If Piper can't find the artifact, she can prevent Scoria's siege and gain Aspen back on her throne. But with enemies on her heels, Piper has far more than mages and love to deal with on her hands. This is one that literally I've heard nobody talk about. It's an arc that I got just through like a Facebook group called like young adult fantasy arc and beta readers or something like that, and I discovered this book and it sounded good, so I requested the arc, and I've just haven't had time to read it, so I'm gonna hopefully try to get it in November. I'm realizing I want to read like so many books in November, and I don't know if I'll have the time because I'm doing Nano. We'll figure that out later. And then the final book is Secret Court by Angelina J. Steffort, and this is the 5th book. Yes, we're on book 5 in the Shattered Kingdom series, and essentially the series has moved on so much since it, but essentially the first book, which is Shattered Kingdom, we follow Gandrit, who essentially she's been raised the last like 10 years of her life in the Kamala Desert under the goddess of Vala, I think is the name. And when a mysterious man comes and takes Gandrit from where she is, she's been essentially trained almost as an assassin, because this guy named Helan needs her to help his boss with something, and then it's just, we are so different from that point, where in the 5th book, this series has been a roller coaster. Think of like a huge series like Throne of Glass, like that, of how it's like halfway through the series it shifts. There's fae, there's magic, there's dragons, there's what else? There's like mysterious prophecies, and like it's just such a good series. I think I've given every book in the series like 4 or 5 stars, and I know I will be reading Secret Court. Yeah, that's the book. Yes, I get these titles mixed up with all of these books, but Secret Court I am for sure reading in November, because I am a part of Angelina's like ARC team, so pretty much any book that she releases I have the opportunity to get an ARC of. Secret Court, and so like Secret Court I'm getting an ARC probably I think she said in middle of November, so I will for sure be reading it this month, like next month. This video is probably way too long, way too rambly. I am just like tired. I shouldn't have filmed, but I needed to. But these are books that I'm excited for. Let me know what November releases you're excited for, if you are interested in any of these books I've mentioned, or just leave any sort of comment you want to that is positive. We want positivity, not negativity, please. But I really hope you enjoyed this video, and bye!